When we talk about the next generation of automobiles, what comes to mind first are electric and hydrogen automobiles. Out of these two, hydrogen cars or hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles, to be more accurate, is a buzzword in Korea now. Here's how the technology works. Water is composed of hydrogen and oxygen, and through electric pulses, we can separate the two. Hydrogen cars operate in an opposite process. The oxygen from the air intake is separated, and the hydrogen gas you carry in your car mixes with the oxygen in the fuel cell. That electricity runs the vehicle. The only emission is pure water. Korea's Hyundai Motors was the world's first to start selling commercially mass-produced hydrogen automobiles in 2013. With more focus on the next generation of energy sources to replace fossil fuels, the Korean government is working on a plan to create a so-called hydrogen economy. Starting with hydrogen automobiles, the initiative will encompass all the processes of using hydrogen as a new energy source: production, storage, and transportation, etc. Along the way, new opportunities will be created for companies and job seekers. However, analysis shows that hydrogen cars are not profitable now, let alone the difficulty of making money would be in the so-called hydrogen economy. The biggest obstacles is that the production of hydrogen is not very pro-environment, as much of its electrolysis is dependent on using fossil fuels. Another is the enormous amount of capital needed to set up the infrastructure for storing and transporting hydrogen. While other countries such as Japan and Germany are also keen on utilizing hydrogen as the next energy source, hydrogen automobiles haven't become the global standard yet, and thus the international market to sell our products to is limited. Despite some skepticism, it is obvious that we need to become less dependent on fossil fuels and have to find the next generation of green energy sources. The Korean government and the industry are having high hopes for hydrogen as the solution. The hunt for new alternative energy sources is on. Hydrogen is thought to be the next best thing, and countries are hard at work to take advantage of this emerging technology. So there's a lot in these sentences. So I said the hunt for new alternative energy sources is on. So the hunt is on is an expression we use when people are trying to find something, accomplish something, make a lot of money. It means, people are out there trying and putting in a lot of effort to do something. So we kind of say the hunt is on, or if you're actually trying to find something. And then hydrogen is thought to be the next best thing. The next best thing is kind of the next step in evolution or improvement in a food or a technology or something we buy. For example, we did a podcast about high definition TV. So I would say 4K is the next best thing. I mean, if you think about it, we used to have plasma TVs, but then the next best thing was high def, or the next best thing could be virtual reality and entertainment. And then other countries are hard at work to take advantage. So if someone is hard at work, means they're working hard. So, if you have a child and someone asks you, hey, where's your child? Oh, he's hard at work studying for the test. Another way of saying working hard on something. And finally, to take advantage of this emerging technology. So if something is emerging, it's not that popular or not that widely used or in the beginning stage. So right now, hydrogen is in its beginning stages. So it's emerging. It's kind of growing. So we would call this an emerging technology. Hydrogen energy is being developed and researched to replace carbon-based energy sources. Countries around the world are exploiting the benefits for this new form of energy. So I said carbon-based energy sources. That's kind of what we'll talk about is your oil, your gas, your coal. Anything is carbon-based that kind of lets off sort of a gas or pollutant. We talk about carbon-based fuels or energy sources. And then I said countries around the world are exploiting the benefits for this new form of energy. So to exploit the benefits, so to exploit something is to get the advantage of someone or something, mostly for your advantage, and it can be used kind of in a negative way. But in this way, we see hydrogen as a positive thing, so we're trying to exploit its benefits. So we're trying to say that it eventually will be cheaper and cleaner than oil. Hydrogen will allow cars to drive longer and take less time to refuel. It also purifies the air. So this that last part, it purifies the air, so it makes it pure, it cleans the air. Hydrogen vehicles emit only pure water. The gas will allow drivers to go greater distances and refuel faster. So I said hydrogen vehicles emit only pure water. So to emit, or an emission, the verb is to emit, is to let out a gas. So your car emits what we call exhaust. And then if you have an old car or diesel car, the emissions are higher. But if you have an electrical car, the emissions would be zero. Hyundai was a pioneer in 2013 when it started producing hydrogen vehicles in large quantities. Korea already has the advantage in the market. So at first I said Hyundai was a pioneer. A pioneer, it goes back to American history when kind of the first American settlers moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, and they crossed 3,000 miles of wilderness. So they were called pioneers. So when we use the word today, it means kind of the first person to do something, or the first company to create something, or a musician of creating kind of a new way of making something. So we call that person a pioneer. Hyundai was a trailblazer several years ago when hydrogen cars started rolling off the production line. Korea has a strong technological base when it comes to hydrogen vehicles. So again, I said Hyundai was a trailblazer. Pioneers were also called trailblazers because there were no roads back then. There were only kind of old trails. And to blaze over something means to go very fast. So a trailblazer is someone who does something kind of new for the first time and very quickly. Like I said, hydrogen cars started rolling off the production line. When we talk about rolling off the production line or rolling off the assembly line, that means when machines are produced. So if you want to know when the new iPhone's coming out, you would say, when is it rolling off the production line? That means when is it ready to be sold? And then finally, I said Korea has a strong technological base. We either say technological base or technological foundation. Means they've already kind of set up the basics of what they need to do for the hydrogen cars, and now they can build on that to make it better. The energy used for thermal splitting to create hydrogen is massive. For the most part, this energy needs to come from fossil fuels. So I said the energy used for thermal splitting. Thermal splitting is one of the processes that's used to separate hydrogen and oxygen when you have water. And then I said the second part, it's the energy, this energy comes from fossil fuels. So before we talked about carbon-based fuels, fossil fuels are kind of the fuels that we pull from the ground: oil, coal, and gas, and now I guess fracking or shale oil. It will be hard to break even when you produce hydrogen. It may take more energy to make hydrogen than it would save when being used by an automobile. So in the first part, I said it will be hard to break even when you produce hydrogen. So to break even means to get to zero. So for example, if you make an investment of $10 and you'd like to make $12, you have a $2 profit. But if you invest $10 and only get $10 back, you've broken even. You've kind of hit zero. You haven't made any money, but you haven't lost any money. That's breaking even. There is no hydrogen infrastructure to support hydrogen vehicles. It will take a lot of investment and time before the hydrogen industry can turn a profit. So in that last part, I said it would take a long time before it can turn a profit. To turn a profit is another way to say to make profit, especially if someone is in the red, which we'll talk about later. So if you're investing $10 and 1 year you make $5, you're still you're not turning a profit. But if 1 year you make $20, you finally turned a profit. So that's what we say when people start making money. Companies working with hydrogen technology will be in the red since there is no logistical structure in place for the production, transport, and storage. Investors will not see returns for a long time. So in the first part of that sentence, I said companies working with hydrogen technology will be in the red. So to be in the red, again, is to not be making profit. It goes back to an old accounting term where I think accountants used to write the debits or money owed in red. So if they were not in profit, it would be in red or below the red. Finally, I said investors will not see returns. Returns means return on your investment. That means getting your money back. So whatever money you've invested in, they will not see any sort of kind of positive returns for a long time. Thanks, guys. Thanks for downloading. Bye-bye.